If you've ever noticed that certain people keep asking about your plans, where you're going, what you're working on, what you're about to do next, this message is for you. And I need you to listen carefully, because what I'm about to tell you is not speculation. It's not psychology. It's something I personally participated in when I was deep inside the occult system. My name isn't important. What matters is where I came from. I was trained as a Satanist and worked alongside witches and spiritual observers whose sole assignment was to monitor people of destiny. And one of the first rules we were taught was this: never attack what you can't first locate. Most people think curiosity is harmless. They think questions are just conversation. But in the spirit realm, questions are doors. Questions are probes. Questions are a way of mapping your future before it manifests. When someone repeatedly asks about your plans, especially without offering help, support, or alignment, it's often not about interest, it's about access. I remember being assigned to listen, not speak, to ask simple questions. So what are you planning next? Any big moves coming? What are you praying about these days? And every answer people gave made our work easier. Because here's the truth they don't tell you: spoken plans carry spiritual coordinates. Some of you watching this have felt uneasy after certain conversations. You felt drained, delayed, confused. Things that were clear suddenly stalled, and you couldn't explain why. You thought it was stress. You thought it was life. But it wasn't. Tonight, I'm breaking silence. I'm explaining why some people are drawn to your plans and what it reveals about you, not them. Stay with me. What you learn next could protect your future. In the occult world, silence is feared more than prayer. That may surprise you, but it's true. Silence blocks observation. Silence disrupts tracking. Silence removes legal permission. When you speak plans prematurely, you move something from the hidden realm into the exposed realm, and exposure is where interference happens. I was trained to understand this. Demons cannot read your thoughts, but they monitor your mouth. They listen for timing, intention, movement, and expectation. When someone keeps asking about your plans, it's often because something about you has already been flagged. You don't get questioned repeatedly if you're insignificant. You get questioned when there's momentum on your life. Many of you are builders, movers, breakers of cycles. And the enemy knows that if you finish what you're carrying, something collapses on their side. So they don't always attack directly. Sometimes they just listen. That's why the questions feel casual, friendly, disguised as concern, but underneath they're collecting data. In my former life, we called this verbal consent. You weren't forced, you volunteered. And once plans were spoken, rituals were easier. Delays were targeted. Confusion was released precisely where you were heading. This is why some of your plans never failed until you talked about them. Not everyone who asks is dangerous. Let me be clear about that. Discernment matters. Supportive people ask and then add value. They pray, they encourage, they contribute, they stand with you. But spiritual monitors ask and then disappear, or worse, they criticize, they discourage, they subtly plant doubt, they change the atmosphere. In occult operations, we were taught to mirror interest without investment, ask questions but never commit, gather information but never align. If someone keeps asking about your plans but never celebrates progress, never shows up, never helps, pay attention. That's not neutrality, that's observation. And here's the key sign most people miss. Their questions increase right before your breakthrough. That's not coincidence. You may wonder, why me? Let me answer that plainly. Your future carries weight. In the spirit realm, futures are visible before they're physical, and certain people are sensitive, either spiritually trained or spiritually compromised, to trajectories. You don't attract this kind of attention because you're weak. You attract it because you're dangerous to darkness. In my past, we were assigned to people who were about to change environments, elevate financially, step into influence, or break generational patterns. Monitoring came first. Interference came second. That's why your plans feel resisted. That's why timing gets strange after conversations. That's why peace leaves when you overshare. You weren't paranoid. You were perceptive. There is a spiritual law that most believers don't understand. What is spoken but not sealed becomes vulnerable. Plans spoken without prayer, dreams shared without protection, vision announced before alignment. In the occult, unfinished words were considered open loops, entry points. This is why wisdom tells us to move quietly, build silently, pray privately. Not everything God shows you is meant for public discussion. Some things are meant to mature in silence. Have you noticed that after talking to certain people, momentum slows, energy drops, clarity fades? That's not emotional coincidence. That's spiritual interference. When plans are exposed prematurely, resistance is permitted, not because God allows harm, but because spiritual laws respect boundaries. The enemy cannot stop what he doesn't see, so he tries to make you speak, and many of you were taught that secrecy is pride, that privacy is fear. That's a lie. Privacy is protection. This is the hardest part for me to admit. I use this tactic successfully. I watch people delay themselves by oversharing. I saw marriages strained, businesses stalled, callings postponed, not by curses, but by conversations. The enemy didn't always need power. He needed permission. And permission often came through friendly questions. That's why I'm speaking now. Because some of you are being watched. Not because you're failing, but because you're close. Let me give you a rule that will protect you. If someone cannot pray for your plan, they don't need details about it. If someone benefits from your delay, they don't need insight into your direction. If someone repeatedly asks but never supports, limit access. Jesus himself spoke in parables, not to confuse, but to protect timing. Silence is not dishonesty, it's wisdom. You don't need to be rude. You don't need to be defensive. You can answer without revealing. I'm taking things one step at a time. I'm praying about it. It's still forming. Those responses close doors without confrontation. Not everyone needs your blueprint. Before we end, I want you to do something simple. Close your eyes for a moment. Say this quietly or aloud. God, seal every plan you placed in me. Withdraw access from every unauthorized listener. Cover my future until its appointed time. I cancel every delay that entered through my words. I reclaim momentum, clarity, and peace. Amen. Something shifted just now. This message isn't meant to make you suspicious of everyone. It's meant to make you wise. You're not being targeted because you're weak. You're being observed because you matter. Move quietly, pray deeply, build faithfully, and remember this: not everyone who asks about your plans is meant to walk into your future. If this message confirmed something you've been feeling, you're not alone and you're not late. You're protected.